Yeah, this was a much better E3 than last year. So, another E3 has come and gone, and just like the rest of the internet, I want to give my 2 cents on what happened. I don't really want to talk about Microsoft too much in all honesty because their conference did very little to convince me that the Xbox One is a competent video game system. Yes, they showed games, as all these conferences should do, and that's a change considering Microsoft's previous E3s, but for starters, there was nothing shown that interested me. I have never been interested in the Microsoft brand of video game consoles, and I was giving them the chance to change that this year since a new generation is just around the corner. But all I got from Microsoft Conference is that, yet again, there's nothing on the system for me. There are no games that interest me whatsoever that are coming to Xbox One. Microsoft is really just lacking those killer first-party games that Sony and Nintendo have, and that's why I've never invested in their systems. They had a chance to change my mind this year, and they didn't. Can't say I really expected any different, though. More importantly, however, they did not address any of the controversial policies surrounding the Xbox One. They did not give any clear responses regarding used game policies, mandatory 24-hour check-ins, or the mandatory internet connection rumors we've been hearing. The consumers want answers about all of these subjects, and the fact that Microsoft is clearly avoiding them does not bode well for public relations. Really doesn't give them a good image. Not at all. And factor in Microsoft's comments about, oh, no internet? Buy a 360. And the fact that $499 makes the Xbox One the most expensive of the three big consoles, and I honestly think Microsoft is in serious trouble this generation. They're destroying their relationship with consumers because of their arrogance in their brand name. Microsoft, with just the price alone, you are making the same mistake that Sony made with the PS3's launch. It's too damn expensive. You need to get off your high horse because the name Xbox alone is not going to push units. It really isn't. When you pull crap like this with the whole, oh, you must always be connected to the internet, and oh, no used games and all that jazz, consumers are not going to flock to your system just because of what your brand name stands for. If you alienate gamers, they will not buy your console. It's as simple as that. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this was the last console generation for Microsoft, and that they left the console business soon after. I really wouldn't be surprised at all. I'm not saying this will happen, or that I necessarily want it to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did, because the way things are going for Microsoft, they're honestly shooting themselves in the foot. Nothing is going right for them right now. Everybody's hating them. They really need to rethink their strategies because, honestly, things are not looking good for Microsoft. And on that joyous note, let's move on to Sony. A lot of people claim that Sony won E3 this year, and while I agree that in comparison to the competition, they definitely won, but the conference itself was a little on the boring side with some exceptions. Looking back at it right now, Sony really didn't show much during its conference that really interested me. Yes, there was infamous Second Son, and it still looks really good, I'm still really hyped for it, but I knew it would be there, so it wasn't exactly a surprise. I mean, I kind of saw that coming, that they were going to show it. But on top of that, they really didn't show anything else that interested me. I mean, they discussed the Vita, but I have no interest in getting the Vita. They didn't show anything coming to the PS3 that really caught my attention. And when they started discussing TV shows and movies, I was honestly starting to tune out. For the majority of the conference, things kind of dragged on for a while, and I thought it was just going to be a snore fest, like it has been for the past several E3s. But then came the Square Enix announcements. Final Fantasy XVI comes on screen, but I don't really care since I've never been interested in Final Fantasy. Then comes the reveal of one other project in the making, and my hype slowly starts to rise a little bit. Then I see the Disney logo, getting a little more excited because I automatically assume it's Kingdom Hearts. Then I see the montage of past Kingdom Hearts games and I get a little more excited, but by that point I was assuming, oh, it's just a trailer for the collection coming out in September. And then boom! We see Sora in those beautiful HD graphics. The logo comes on screen and I completely lose it. Kingdom Hearts 3 is real. It's coming. Not for a long time, probably, but it's coming, and I am so looking forward to it. That was my favorite game shown at Sony's conference. I've been a fan of Kingdom Hearts for a while now, even though I haven't played all of the games, but I get a chance to play some of those games later this year thanks to the HD collection, which is awesome. And now Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally coming, and I am very, very excited for it. That was a very good move to finally show something. But Kingdom Hearts 3 really isn't the reason I think Sony won E3. It helped a lot in my case, but not entirely why I think they won E3. I honestly think Sony won because they completely slaughtered Microsoft directly in their conference. They addressed all of the policies that Microsoft should have addressed in their own press conference. And on top of that, they said exactly what gamers wanted to hear. Sony will not be restricting used games on its system. The PlayStation 4 will not be requiring a constant internet connection in order to play games, and gamers are not required to check in on the system every 24 hours in order for it to work. Sony did the complete opposite of everything Microsoft is imposing on its consumers. People are flocking to Sony because they're not screwing over their consumers like Microsoft is currently doing. It's not so much the PlayStation 4's policies that are making everyone and their mother jump ship to Sony. It's the fact that Sony is doing what Microsoft should have been doing in the first place. Sony is not doing anything stupid like Microsoft is doing, and honestly, people are just picking Sony because it's the default. The bottom line is gamers don't want restrictions on their consoles and games. They want to be able to buy a game and be able to do whatever the hell they want with that copy of the game. If they want to play the game on the console, they should be able to do so without restrictions. If they want to give that game to someone else to play on their console, they should be able to do so without restrictions. It's as simple as that. Sony still stands by these freedoms, and that is what is making people so happy. It's very clear. It's the fact that Microsoft is imposing all of these stupid restrictions on people. It's why they hate the Xbox One before it has even come out, and the fact that Sony is by default not doing any of that stupid crap, that people are in love with the PlayStation 4 right now. Oh, and it probably helps Sony in the fact that the PS4 is only $399. That probably has something to do with it too. $399 US. That's $100 less than the Xbox One. It's much more affordable, there are no game restrictions or requirements on the consumer's part, and suddenly the PS4 is looking very appealing of an investment. My hat is off to you, Sony. You said the right thing at the right time, so congratulations. Now, that doesn't automatically mean anything Sony does with the PS4, and I mean absolutely anything they do in the future, will be widely well received. If they're going to do something BS, people are going to call them out on it, or at least I hope they will. So just because Sony got away with it, not even really got away with it, they kind of earned this victory. Even though they won E3, it doesn't mean people are always going to be loyal to them. They can still screw something up in the future. So I'm just saying we shouldn't automatically declare Sony the winner of this generation. I do think they won this E3, just they haven't won this generation yet. But so far, I think they're on the right track to do so. So Sony, my hat is off to you. But even though their conference was a little lackluster, it was a little boring, they didn't really show anything I was particularly excited about besides Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm still excited for the PS4. Probably not going to pre-order it, but I probably will get it later down the road. And so, yeah, I'd pretty much just say Sony won E3. And finally, let's talk Nintendo. They didn't have a traditional press conference, but instead they had a Nintendo Direct. It showed a lot of good games, but the Direct itself wasn't without its flaws. For starters, the stream itself on which we saw the Nintendo Direct was terrible. Just saying that now. It was a complete disaster. The thing was laggy, it jumped around, I couldn't tell what was going on half the time, I missed a lot of the trailers and stuff because it lagged and I missed the important parts of it. I had to go back and watch the trailers on YouTube that day because I honestly couldn't tell what was going on. The stream was that poor. Nintendo, if you are going to do more Nintendo Directs in the future like this with live streams, you need to get your shit together and make the stream work properly next time, because the playback on that thing was just unacceptable. And I know it wasn't just me who was having it. I was watching Nintendo's Direct live with a bunch of my friends on Skype and everything, and we were all having the same problems. We were trying to watch it at different places, and just everywhere. It was just a complete disaster. It was a lag fest. Nobody could tell what was going on. So, I guess you could say this whole thing was just a minor complaint in the grand scope of the entire Direct, but I'm hoping Nintendo won't repeat the same mistake in the future. I'm pretty sure Iwata has already apologized for this, but still, the lag was really noticeable and they need to make sure that doesn't happen again. Otherwise, these Nintendo Directs aren't going to get, positive reviews and stuff. But anyways, enough about that. Let's move on to the more important part, the games. We saw Monolith's Game X and Bayonetta 2. Both are looking very good. The reason I'm talking about them first, even though they weren't mentioned first, is just because I'm getting them out of the way. I mean, I like how they look, I don't have that much to say about them. And then we've got the next big 3D Mario game, which turns out to be called Super Mario 3D World. I'm really mixed about this. When I was watching the stream and I saw this game for the first time, I honestly felt pretty disappointed by what I saw. But then I took some time off to cool off about it, and I thought about things for a while and came back with a clear mind. And now that I'm thinking about Super Mario 3D World and what I honestly think about it, I can't say that I still hate it as much as I originally did when I first saw it. While I'm not entirely impressed by 3D World, I don't flat out hate it like I initially did. Let's just get that out of the way, alright? I don't hate Mario 3D World. My entire problem with this game, though, is that conceptually it is not the 3D Mario game I had been hoping for. I've stated this many times before what I want in a 3D Mario game, and I'll keep stating it until Nintendo makes it happen. That is how much I really want them to make a traditional 3D Mario game, and I do not believe this is it. All I want in a 3D Mario game is something more in line with Mario 64 and Sunshine. I just want lush, open-world environments to explore. I want goals that don't have a set path in front of them in order to get to said goals, thus allowing you to explore and find your own path to reach the goal. I liked the Mario Galaxy games, I really did, but they were just way too linear. I mean, once you went through what are they called, the launch stars or whatever, once you went through those things, you couldn't go back to the previous section of the level. You were stuck, you had to move forward. Galaxy 2 had a few more expansive environments like Beach Bowl Galaxy, I will give it that. They were a little more wide open, you could explore a little bit more, but I just want them to take that a step further and make an entire game like that. The problem I have with Mario 3D World is that it still looks as though it has a set beginning point and a set end point. The wide open worlds, it looks like they look wide open, but that's misleading to me. They look as though they offer exploration, but really they don't, because you're still following along a linear path until the end. I don't want that. I don't want to follow a path, because then I feel like the game is holding my hand throughout the level. I want to be able to figure out how to get from point A to point B on my own, and not have the game lead me through it as if I'm incapable of making it there myself. That's all I want. I want to be able to explore on my own, not let the game guide me along to the end in a path that is just set out in front of me. I want to be able to figure out where I should go instead of being able to see one linear little path in front of me showing me where I should go. I mean, if I wanted it to be linear, I'd play one of the 2D side-scroller games, because that's what they're for. They're 2D. You can't really do much besides go from left to right. But with 3D, you should be able to go in any direction. But when I look at games like Mario 3D World, I only see one path in front of me, and I feel like I have to go down that way. I can't really explore, otherwise I'm not accomplishing anything. Mario 64 and Sunshine didn't really have that problem. They were wide open. You could go anywhere and still ultimately get to the goal. But more than anything, I think what I really dislike about Mario 3D World is that it looks exactly like Mario 3D Land on the 3DS. When I heard Nintendo was going to show a new 3D Mario game at the Direct, I did not expect to see the aesthetics of Mario 3D Land basically ported to the Wii U. I expected something brand new from Mario's first grand Wii U outing. With Mario 3D World, I feel that Nintendo is just playing it far too safe. Obviously, Mario 3D Land worked, so they're trying to stick with that again, instead of trying something new. More than anything, it just looks like Mario 3D Land to me, and I don't really like that. It just looks like a port. I expected something brand new, and just with Mario 3D World, I feel like they're playing it way too safe. Now, I know people are probably going to get on me saying, you can't judge this game, you've only seen one trailer, you haven't even played it yet. Look, I'm not judging this game. This isn't my final judgment or say on the game. I'm just giving it my first impressions based on what is shown. My opinions are more than likely to change as we are shown more of the game. Now, to be fair, I didn't play Mario 3D Land. I have a 3DS, I just never got around to picking up the game. I do want to play it in the future, and if I like Mario 3D Land, I will probably want to play Mario 3D World 2. And here is why. Look, I love Mario. I really do. Whenever I criticize Mario games like this, it's not doing it because I hate Mario. I do love Mario. I grew up with him, and I have never once wanted to stop supporting him. It's been getting a little hard for me to support Mario's games as they change over the years. I know I've complained about the new Super Mario Bros. Series in the past, and that was just because I lost interest in them after the Wii iteration. The DS one was the first of its kind, so I really can't fault it for anything. And the new Super Mario Bros. Wii, it added multiplayer, so that was something. It was something we'd never seen before. But by the time we got to the 3DS and the Wii U versions, I was simply burnt out on 2D Mario because it looked like they were just relying on more of the same things that worked on the first two games. And I wanted something in 3D because the last 3D Marios we had at the time that the 3DS and the Wii U versions came out for the new Super Mario Bros. Series, the last 3D Mario games we had were the Galaxy titles, and those didn't entirely do it for me. But when I saw Mario 3D World and I was looking back thinking about all this, I looked back at Mario 3D Land again for a second. It's not the full 3D Mario game I've been wanting, but it's not strictly 2D either. If anything, 3D Land shows me that Nintendo is at least trying to give the best of both worlds. It's not strictly 2D, even though it's not strictly 3D either. Clearly Nintendo is trying to please both fans of 2D and 3D Mario. So, I've been thinking a lot about it after I saw the Mario 3D World showing, I guess. And I've just been thinking that maybe it's a bit unfair of me to have not given a chance to 3D Land and to automatically be dismissing 3D World. Honestly, when I look at 3D Land, it's not exactly the Mario game I wanted, but it's at least somewhat different from what I've been expecting. And that's something. To put things simply, I can't hate Mario 3D World, since it looks to play a lot like Mario 3D Land, and I haven't even played Mario 3D Land. I want to play 3D Land now and see if I like it, because if I do like it, and I have a feeling I probably will, then I'll probably be more willing to try Mario 3D World. And after thinking all of this, the reason I'm mentioning all this in this video is because at first I really wasn't that thrilled with Mario 3D World. But then I thought about Mario 3D Land, and that's kind of changed things for me. So my opinion is a little mixed instead of just being flat out negative. So I will say this. I'm not entirely hyped about Mario 3D World at the moment. I want to go back and play Mario 3D Land first and see how I feel about that, because I feel Mario 3D World plays on a lot of the same gimmicks that Mario 3D Land played on. And if I like Mario 3D Land, I'll probably like Mario 3D World based on how it looks so far. So I'm trying to just give it the benefit of the doubt and everything. But until I get around to getting Mario 3D Land, I'm just not all that hyped for this one at the moment. It's a little bit disappointing because it's not the 3D Mario I wanted. But then again, it's still something. It made me think about things in a different perspective than I originally did when I first saw this. Okay, so does all this make sense? I know I rambled and jumped around, but I hope that makes sense. I do not hate Mario 3D World. I know it sounds like I was bashing it a lot, but I do not hate this game. It's just not the 3D Mario game I was wanting. I'm going to give Mario 3D Land a chance to see if that'll sway me to get this one when I get a Wii U, and I will get a Wii U eventually. I'm still going to give this game a chance, but even if I do like Mario 3D World, I'm not going to give up hope for Nintendo to make a true 3D Mario again someday. This could be a step in the right direction, it's just not quite hitting the mark with me yet. So, yeah, I originally didn't like Mario 3D World, but that's kind of changed a little bit. I'm kind of wanting to give it a chance, but before I do, I want to try Mario 3D Land and see how that goes over. And as for the other stuff shown in the Mario 3D World trailer or whatever, I'm really indifferent to the catsuits. I really don't care about that. And unless it has online co-op, I really don't care about the multiplayer. Nintendo, I'm not a child anymore. The friends I would have had to play games like this with when I was a kid are not around anymore, so online play is my only option to have people to play with. If you can't provide online play for this game, then the multiplayer is meaningless for me, because I'd be playing this game all alone. One thing I do like about Mario 3D World for sure is that since Princess Peach is playable in this one, the story won't be about her getting kidnapped, and that's automatically better. Now let's move on to Mario Kart 8. I really have no complaints about this one. This one's looking pretty good. I've never hated Mario Kart, and there's been one for almost every Nintendo console, so seeing it here in the Nintendo Direct really isn't much of a surprise. I like that they're bringing back the bikes from Mario Kart Wii and the gliders and underwater sections from Mario Kart 7, since each of them worked really well into the Mario Kart formula, and the new anti-gravity is cool and all, but if it's any indication of where the series could go from here, then in all honesty, I think this pretty much kills the F-Zero franchise as a whole, since Mario Kart pretty much seems to be evolving into that at this point. I wouldn't be surprised if in Mario Kart 9 or so, they're finally in F-Zero machines, because, you know, that's where it seems to be going in my opinion. I don't know, it sounds pretty silly, I guess. But just in terms of the game itself, the graphics look really good. I really like the shading and everything. Mario Kart looks really good in HD. Given the track record from Mario Kart Wii and Mario Kart 7, I'm sure the online play is really going to be good. It sounds like they're going to be putting in a lot more modes. That's a really good sign. I wish they would really do that with other Nintendo games, but for Mario Kart, that's awesome. Let's see, what else? I'm sure just as long as they keep the items balanced and everything, just basically don't do a repeat of Mario Kart Wii and you're golden. Because just, those blue shells, I don't even want to think about that at this point. But, yeah, Mario Kart 8 looks really, really good. I got nothing, no major complaints or anything. I'm really, really pleased with this one. I probably will get it once I get a Wii U. And then moving on, we've got Retro Studios' big game that they finally showed off. So their big top secret project that they've been working on for several years now is another Donkey Kong Country game. Really? Really? That's it? No Metroid, no Star Fox, no new IP or anything like that? Just another Donkey Kong? Look, I get that DKC Returns was a very good game. I completely understand that. But do we really need another Donkey Kong so soon? Especially since Returns was put on the 3DS not so long ago, do we really need one already? Don't get me wrong, I've got nothing against Donkey Kong, and I'm sure Tropical Freeze will be great. I'm just a little disappointed that after all this secrecy and hype and everything, it turns out that Retro is just making a sequel to Donkey Kong. I thought for sure that the fact they were being so top secret and everything meant that they were working on something really big and exciting. I thought for sure it was going to be Star Fox, and I was getting a little hyped for that. So it's a little disheartening to see that they're just sticking with Donkey Kong again. I feel like that's a little bit of wasted potential. They could have done something a little bit more. I was really hoping they'd put their potential towards bringing back one of Nintendo's other IPs and making it really popular again, like they did for Donkey Kong when they did Country Returns and everything. And when I look at Donkey Kong Country Returns, I guess Tropical Freeze, it doesn't really look that different. It doesn't really look like they made that many big changes and everything. I don't know, maybe my complaints are just petty and everything, but I just feel like Nintendo is too scared to experiment with other franchises at this moment, since the Wii U really isn't selling at all. I mean, I can understand them bringing out Smash Brothers and Mario Kart because those are guaranteed to sell units, and I just hope Nintendo doesn't rely on Mario and Zelda and Metroid for a whole nother generation like they did for the Wii. I just thought for sure that with Retro working on something secret, that it was going to be a new IP or whatever, that it was really going to change things up. It wasn't just going to be a repeat of the Wii and everything. I thought if Nintendo could get one of its other franchises outside of like the big three, that it could really make a difference. So it's, and Donkey Kong is good. It's good that they have Donkey Kong, but it's a sequel, and it feels too soon for that, I guess. I don't know. I don't really like that they're doing another Donkey Kong so soon. I mean, I'd be fine if they go back to Donkey Kong and make a sequel. It just feels too early for another Donkey Kong. I was hoping they'd be doing something else. I don't know. I guess the Wii U is still a little young, I guess. It hasn't been on the market that long. I hope eventually Nintendo will bring back Star Fox and Metroid and what have you, because Nintendo has so many properties that they're not using at the moment, and Nintendo is going to need as much diversity in its games as it can get. The Wii U really needs a ton of games. Please, Nintendo, I'm begging you, please do not make the same mistake you made with the Wii. Mario cannot sell you forever. It cannot push your systems forever. You really need more of these other IPs. And sequels is just not gonna, it's not gonna push units. Just like, you really need more of these IPs. I really can't stress that enough. I don't know, I guess we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. I hate that we're having to play the waiting game, but there's not much else we can do. It's dumb, but what else can you do? Having said all of this, I'm sure by now you're wanting me to talk about the next Smash Brothers. That's the next big thing to talk about. And trust me, I really want to discuss that one the most out of all of these, but since this video is getting pretty long already as it is, I'm gonna save Smash Brothers for the next part because I have a lot to say about it. So in part 2, I'll talk about all things Smash Brothers and give my final thoughts on the Nintendo Direct overall and just wrap things up. So thanks for watching. This has been Brawlmaster 012 signing off.